When we realize that the righteousness that we receive and the righteousness that we possess comes to us only by the mercy of God, we will begin to treat others the way that God has treated us.
Yeah, the mercy we've received will begin to inform our perception of those around us.
Correct.
I have no righteousness in myself to merit God's favor.
Correct.
Therefore, you need no merit in yourself to have my favor.
Correct.
I receive you in the same way that I have been received.
There's a fundamental similarity between every human being. You know, we live in an age now, Ty, where people want to magnify the dissimilarities, the differences, and whether it's national or racial or gender or economic or educational. We want to maximize differences. What Jesus is doing here is he's taking the whole of humanity in his arms and putting them all in the same basket.
I am not fundamentally better than anyone else.
And you're not even fundamentally different than anybody else.
That's right.
We have differences, and those differences make us the wonderful, weird, idiosyncratic people that we are. But at the most basic, ontological, fundamental level, we are all the same kinds of people. Everybody's spiritual journey follows this trajectory.
And on a moral level, that mercy that I've received, which then bleeds over into mercy for others, informs me that when I see somebody fail, when I see somebody sin, when I see somebody do something wrong, I don't look down my long theological, morally superior nose at them as if to say, Lord, thank you that I'm not like that. I'm not like that person. I'm not bad like them. I'm not a sinner like they are. The fact is, I've never seen anybody do anything wrong that I myself either have not done or am not capable of doing if given the same pressures and circumstances and genetics and family and all of that. I am, you are, we are all on an even playing field before the cross of Christ.
When you think about I love everything you said there. When you think about John the Baptist baptizing, largely it must have been many of the have-nots, many of the people on the margins and the fringes. And this is why the religious leaders came out to see the multitudes that were attracted to John. And what's taking place there with baptism is a great equalizing. It suggests, I mean, everybody knows what water's for. It's for washing. It's also for, you drink it. But in terms of like an external application, it's for washing. It's for cleansing. And so the idea that baptism, people were coming into the waters that John was baptizing them in the River Jordan. And people who felt like they didn't need the baptism were standing in judgment over and against those people. And this is why John speaks out against it. You have to fill in the spaces a little bit here with your imagination. And John says, hey, who warned you to flee from the wrath? Who invited you to this party? Because if you see yourself as fundamentally above or better than or superior to these people, this isn't your gig. And Jesus does the same thing here. Blessed are those that recognize their spiritual poverty, mourn that condition, gives them an attitude of meekness toward those around them. They hunger and thirst for that which they do not possess themselves natively or inherently. And they realize the only way I could ever have righteousness as a gift is if God bestows mercy and favor upon me. And Ty, when we begin to treat others the way that God has treated us, something begins to happen in our heart.
Purity.
It begins to be purified. Why don't you read verse 8 for us?
Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God.
When we treat others the way that God has treated us, Ty, our heart, our vacuous, impoverished heart begins to be transformed and changed.
Innocence begins to take up all the space in our hearts. But check this out, David. They shall see God. Only those who have received mercy from God and are merciful toward others have an accurate perception of the character of God.
Oh, say that again. Say that again, and then I have something I want to add to that.
Only those who receive mercy from God and then are merciful to others accurately see the character of God.
I'm so glad you said it the way you said it, because you said it in the present tense. That was so smart, because what Jesus says is they shall see God. All of these are now, they've switched to the future tense. They have an eschatological, means an end time sort of sense about them. They shall be comforted, and they shall inherit the earth, and they shall be filled, and they shall obtain mercy, and they shall see God. But I love what you said, and I had you repeat it because I wanted to hear if you said it in the present tense. It's not just that those that are having their hearts purified will in some future eschatological second coming events see God. It's that they can see God now. As he is.
God sees me.
Wow, I love
God
that.
sees me through the lens or the prism of mercy. I see others through the lens of mercy. And in so doing, I am accurately reflecting what I've seen in God.
And you're seeing God.
And if I relate to people without mercy, what's the implication? I don't know God as God is.
It's so amazing that you would say that, because Jesus actually will say this to some of the religious leaders in the Gospels. He'll say things like, "You have never seen his shape nor heard his voice at any time." What he's saying is the principles and the motivations that actuate you are not the principles and the motivations that actuate God. And when we, to follow the beatitudinal sequence here, when we begin to treat others the way that God has treated us with mercy, we enter into that transformational experience that we sometimes call a conversion. You're changed. You're new. You're fresh. You're coming out of the water. You're a new creature.
As opposed to your bad theology has given you a misconception of the character of God, and therefore you can only see people and relate to people the way you think God is relating to you. Think about that, David.
Come on now.
If God is standing toward me in a posture of incrimination, condemnation, judgment, that's all I have to offer to anybody else. And in reverse, you can understand then that if I am relating to you with judgment, condemnation, incrimination, that's how I imagine the character of God is toward me.
And toward the world.
Toward the world.